Hello, everyone, and welcome to 30 Minutes of Randall's Monday. Why? Because I'm terrible at naming things. So, I got sent a code for this. God, it must be almost a week ago now. But I gotta be honest, I've been trying to get through at least a bit further than the start, just because I'll go into it as we get started, but there's some rather interesting things I want to discuss. So Randall's Monday is, let me just go ahead and bring ourselves into the game, is a point-and-click adventure game by, I'm sorry, I've been trying to figure out how to say the name of the studio here, so let's, well, it's a Nexus Game Studios thing, in association with Daedalic? Is that how you say that? Daedalic? Something like that. Anyway. And as far as I understand, this is their first game they have specifically made, at least with this current team, from what they claim. It has some interesting mechanics as far as the control setup, where you can either go with what they call a classic two-click system. It's where you right-click everything and select it. Or modern, which I suppose, I guess, is like a... it's sort of, I guess, almost Tall Tale-esque. Just because, like, it's a very simplified, if you're going to click a thing, you're going to know exactly what's going on type thing. To be honest, I opted for the old school one just because I don't know, it seemed to work and I didn't feel like really doing anything. As far as I found an interesting problem where I don't think these volume sliders actually work, because a strange thing happened where I turned all of these down. I was still getting some sound effects, like you can hear that click when I scroll over things that can be clicked on. That doesn't go away, and like the menu music doesn't go away. And then all of a sudden you go into the game, and the game music is still playing, but nothing else is. And then you go into the menu again to turn it back on, and all of a sudden the menu music is gone. So it's just sort of a weird thing. I don't know if it's a glitch. If the promotional material for the game is to be believed, this was made by 6 guys in a garage. So, I mean, at the very least, presentation-wise, I definitely want to give them props for the fact that this is the protagonist, Randal, by the way, and this is his Monday, if you can believe it. His walk cycle and everything looks really good, and if, oh crap. Okay, sorry about that. I forgot to turn something on. Anyway, and if you didn't notice, then great. If you did notice, then, you know, I'm an idiot. So, yeah, if it can be believed, it's, running fairly well. It is running at about over 500 frames, 500 FPS, so that's pretty nice, I suppose. So I guess we can actually just start up the timer and we can start discussing a couple of things here. So, I've made it about 5-6 hours in now, and probably one of the main things that I've noticed when figuring out what to really talk about with this game are kind of twofold. And one, it's the writing and the comedy angle, and then the other angle is talking about the gameplay itself.
Oh, I will never
and
talk to those people unless it's absolutely necessary.
So
I don't see that.
I guess starting with the actual script writing, one of the main things I've noticed is that I unfortunately don't particularly find this very funny, and
I can't believe it. Is that you, Morty? Is that
I hate
costume, or do you
admitting
just
that,
look
and
like
I'm gonna try my best to discuss this without really
So are you gonna start
sounding like an asshole or anything about it, because, you know, comedy in general is a very subjective thing to judge, and an inability to
I know,
assess
Morty,
it
you're
without
right,
keeping in
expensive
mind
toys.
your
I'm
own
the one who signs
biases
for them every
is
time you get a
kind
new
of
package. So
bad.
don't make
So,
me do anything drastic.
with my lack of linguistic skills,
That bastard has an answer for everything.
I guess one of the main things I would say is that when I started the game, I felt that it was if you can tell by various things that you're probably noticing even on this screen itself, this game really likes to reference a lot of things, and I mean like a lot of things.
Okay, I'm out of here. By the way, I'm glad you decided to socialize a little. Your next step should be taking a shower. You know, just think about it.
And to be honest, that's not really my sense of humor or my forte, to be honest. Like, maybe back when Family Guy first started, it was more my thing, but I don't know. The humor in a lot of ways was feeling so referential as to actually not particularly enthrall me, and I was trying to figure out what exactly to do.
I thought you told me to kill you if I ever saw you at one of these conventions.
No, that was Matt, and he's already dead, so,
But it does get an occasional chuckle out of me, and I guess the main thing to say is, I don't know, some of the dialogue feels very stilted, and the humor feels fairly...
I saw you at Clayton's last night.
fairly...
Well, I was drowning my sorrows.
What's wrong? Did you find out your internet girlfriend is actually a guy?
Like,
No, dude.
I guess
Wonder
my...
Comics is
I guess I
canceling
should explain my
Captain
theory
Red.
that I actually
Yeah?
think this
How come?
script
Sales
was
haven't been that good
written in a
Well,
different
that's only
language and
normal
then
if it's
translated to
like
English.
No. He's the
And
greatest
my theory
comic
for that is
superhero
sort of
ever.
twofold
I grew up
in the
with
fact
him. He
that
was always there for me when I was
the Nexus
Besides,
game
now that
studio
Superhot
that I
Chef
looked
is
up,
sidekick,
as far as I
they wrote
understand, is a
Amazing
Spanish
Team-Up.
studio.
Okay, Charlie, don't
If I
get
understand
petty.
from their website, they're
I get
based
it,
in
the world
Spain.
needs Captain Red.
So, I don't know. So here's the other thing to really kind of drive home my theory, and I looked at it and I felt fairly more reassured about that. I'm going to play back a small section just before this, first in Spanish and then in English, and I don't know, maybe you'll hear it a little bit.
Tengo que entregar un paquete ahí dentro. Llevo el albarán aquí mismo.
Chico, eso no demuestra nada. Seguro que has escrito tú mismo la dirección.
Podría haberlo hecho, lo admito. Pero resulta que no. Te has vuelto muy desconfiado, Murray. El poder se te ha subido a la cabeza, ¿sabes? Tú antes molabas.
Si ni siquiera te conozco.
Basta de chorradas. ¿Sabes leer? ¿Te enseñaron a leer en la academia? Pues lee esto.
Así que trabajas para Emerson Express. Parece que todo está en orden. Puedes pasar.
Pues claro que puedo pasar. Podía pasar desde el principio, pero me encantan estas charlas contigo.
Vamos, lárgate de aquí.
Hier, ich muss dieses Päckchen abliefern. Hier ist der Schein.
Das beweist noch gar nichts. Die Adresse hast du doch sicher selbst geschrieben.
Könnte sein, zugegeben, aber so war's nicht. Sie sind sehr misstrauisch, Murray. Wenn das mit uns beiden je was werden soll, müssen Sie mir schon vertrauen.
Ich kenn dich nicht mal.
Oh, das reicht jetzt aber. Können Sie lesen? Haben Sie das in der Schule gelernt? Dann lesen Sie das hier.
Ah, du arbeitest also für Emerson Express. Okay, sieht alles in Ordnung aus. Dann mal rein mit dir.
Wurde auch Zeit. Gott, ich hätte mich schon vor Stunden einfach reinschleichen können, aber ich plaudere einfach so gern mit Ihnen.
Komm schon, geh einfach rein.
Look, I have to deliver this package. I have the receipt right here.
That proves nothing. I'm sure you wrote the address yourself.
I could have, I admit it, but I didn't. You're so suspicious, Murray. If things are ever gonna work out between you and me, you have to learn to trust me.
I don't even know you.
Oh, enough already. Can you read? Did you learn to read in school? Then read this.
So, you work for Emerson Express. Okay, everything looks above board. Go ahead, you can go in.
About time. God, I could have sneaked in hours ago, but I just love these little chats of ours so much.
Come on, get going.
So yeah, the actual script writing end of it, I don't know, the voice actors feel a bit more lively in Spanish, and even the Dutch that they have available, and I don't know, something about English, it just, I don't know. But I guess so one of the things that I guess really should be pushed as far as something you may or may not be interested with this is Randal here is voiced by Jeff Anderson, and Jay and Silent Bob are actually characters in this game. Like, I saw them not an hour ago, and if you recognize the names Jeff Anderson or Jay or Silent Bob, then you might have already made up your mind about this, but if you don't, please feel free to Google it and go through some of those, because those are some fun watches. And if I understand correctly, some of the old crew have gone over the script and given it the okay and think it's good and everything, so, you know, pushing my biases aside, maybe that's something that you find rather interesting. And I certainly found it interesting that they got them involved. I would be very interested in finding out how and why that exactly transpired. I would love to know more. They have this interesting promotional video on their website where they interview Jeff Anderson about it, and it's funny. It's an interesting little thing to watch.
He's Super Hot Chick's boyfriend? No way.
Well, they work together.
In
What
a lot of
loser.
cases,
By the way,
I don't
how
know,
old is
the
Super Hot Chick now?
Does it matter?
comedy,
Well, it's
at
just
least
I'm
from my
sure she's not even in
perspective,
her
a
40s
lot of it
anymore.
relies
Well,
on
that's
timing
working.
and delivery,
In that
and
lingerie catalog from 1972, Super Hot Chick is described as a woman of her time. And to be honest, if you focus on her style, you can easily see the passage of time. Yet, you can't deny she still looks hot as hell.
Yes, that's true, but maybe it's because she's a drawing?
What do you mean? The Super Hot Chick series is still going strong. But Captain Red...
I don't know.
Yeah, what's the problem with Captain Red exactly?
The dialogue
Well,
feels
like I
fairly
said, they don't
separated
make as
and
much money.
very interested, not
But that's
overlapping
normal.
each other.
Time
So
goes
it
by and
it
people
sounds
get tired of
less
seeing the same things over
like-
and over.
it
That's
sounds less
normal,
like
you
an
say?
actual conversation and
Captain
more
Red
like
is in
audio
his
files
prime.
loading
He's
in
an
one after
almost
the other
stable,
after the
long-term
other, and
relationship with Super Hot
maybe
Chick.
that is very much it. You know,
Project
this is a
Moose
first-time
Man is
game,
about
so
to
I
be
can't
defeated for
I can't expect amazing
Mooseman?
mixing
You mean the
or
guy that
coding
shoots
or
chocolate
anything, but
mousse out of his
to be
hands?
honest, it
Hell,
sort of makes
Charlie,
the delivery
even his
feel
enemies
kind of
are
off,
Hey,
and so it
careful
makes
there. That's my
the
favorite
comedy
saga
feel
you're
kind of
talking
off to
about.
me.
Choose your words
But, you know,
wisely, and don't forget
I'm still trying to
about
stress
my
the fact
massive
that
applause.
my average of things that I find funny, I don't know if entirely laps with this game that much at all. There are some people that love that stuff. They love things that just reference a million other things. You know, even if I push away from TV, really, like what was that game that came out not too long ago? Retro City Rampage. Yeah, that was it. That game references like 3 billion things in the first like 3 minutes of playing that game, and some people love that stuff, and some people really love that game. So it's one of those things that, you know, I'm really just trying to stress that I don't find it very funny, but who knows, you might very well find this funny. And I am saying that at least animation-wise and presentation-wise, it looks very nice. It looks very nice. You might have also noticed from me talking, there is quite long sections of dialogue
How did he get his powers again?
all
Oh, that is
over
a
this
fat
game.
baby
So
fool.
if
His
you're
name is
you're
Tim
ready
Willett.
for
Just a kid who loved paintball.
If you're ready for
was
story,
very good at it,
oh
and didn't have all the
boy,
right
is
gear
there
to
a whole
play,
lot of dialogue
he
for
never
that
gave up,
story.
so he was a loser.
You're definitely not going to
He
be
wasn't
missing out on
skillful as
that.
the rest. Kind of weak for his
A
age, and he always
lot of
wore
the
yellow
characters have
sweats
multiple
instead
strings of
of camouflage
dialogue.
clothes. So he always
I
did
think
very
outside
badly.
of when you exhaust
One
their
day,
dialogue
sick of
chains,
being constantly
most of
mocked,
them have
he
multiple
decided
steps to
wear
their
his grandfather's
dialogue.
captain uniform.
There's a lot of like
He didn't realize
trees
it
to
was
unfold
full
into
dress.
more of it. And at the very least, I will say that most of the characters are
The battle took place in
consistent
this old
and
abandoned industrial park where
fairly
people used to process radioactive waste.
fairly
Spurred
long-winded
on by
with
the
their
Tim Willard
explanations,
exited
which
the battle,
you know, at the very
buzzing
least, considering it's a
but
point-and-click
it was
adventure
all in
game,
vain.
and
This
your
time
only
they laughed
hopes
at him
for
more than
really
ever.
grasping
Tim
more
was
of the
gonna answer
characters is
back,
with
but
longer dialogue.
before he could even
Yeah,
finish
that's fine by
everybody
me. I
started
mean,
riddling him with paintballs.
this is a game that's
Little by
certainly
little,
interested
his whole
in
uniform was dyed
being
red.
a bit more of
All
a
it,
retro
except for the hat that flew
experience,
off his head with the
which
first burst.
I guess can
While
kind of
he was
neatly
shot,
link me
he
into
noticed,
the
sadly,
gameplay a little
even
bit.
his own team members were joining in.
So,
When the firing
gameplay-wise,
stopped, everybody gathered around Tim, who was
this
writhing on
game,
the floor, and they put
even
the hat
in
back
its
on his head,
bullet
still
points, I
laughing
believe it
mercilessly.
markets itself
Next,
as
they
a
grabbed him, put him
air
inside
quotes
an
here,
empty barrel of
retro
radioactive waste and
point-and-click
pushed it down the
adventure.
hill. Now, what those
So
guys did not
it,
expect was that the barrel would
I guess
explode.
to explain what exactly it means by that, if your only experience with point-and-clicks is Telltale,
Amazing.
the main thing I would say is that almost every screen will have some sort of interactable item or something you need to get, or something you need to interact with, and you can't afford to miss anything, so you have to almost basically just mouse over literally anything that looks like anything in the hopes
Can I
that
borrow it?
you find it,
Red number 1.
and
No way.
ultimately
Its location is a
you
secret,
find,
and I keep it in a reinforced vault.
and if you find anything that looks like it might have something, exhaust everything else to come back to it, and hopefully that thing does become a thing, or it's proven to not be a thing. It is definitely a game that's not very interested in giving more I hate this word, but emergent gameplay to the player, so like maybe something a bit more adaptive to how a particular person plays a game like this. It is very much a halt every bit of your progress until you have very specific items that you may or may not actually have at the given point of you doing or needing a specific thing. So we're at a bit more of a dialogue train here, so let's...
How much for that ugly ring?
More than what you can afford.
You don't know that.
Randall, I know you very well, and believe me, this ring is way out of your league.
I could say the same thing about you and that actress that plays Super Hot Chick.
Aw, low blow, man.
I know, but anyway, I'm not here to talk about your feelings. I'm here to talk business, so tell me, how much for that stupid ring?
A lot, Randall. We're talking about an astronomical figure, so huge you can't even...
I'm sorry, Charlie, you were saying something?
How much do you have there?
Honestly, I don't know. It started off as too much money. It may have dwindled a little, but I'll give you the whole wad for that ring.
It's not that simple. This ring is probably the most valuable item in the whole convention. I can't just sell it to the first guy who walks over here flashing some cash.
Oh, Charlie, please. I'm begging you. You know I hate begging. I need to buy that ring. It's very important.
Aw, poor Randall. You're acting like the world's gonna end if you don't get that ring. I don't know what to say. You can either go and find some more money, or surprise me.
I could surprise you in so many ways, but then people would call the cops on me. Besides, how do you expect me to get more money? I know I sometimes use his name, but I'm not Donald Trump.
There are many ways to make fast money, Randall. Selling your body on the street, stealing stuff, offering your body for medical experiments. I don't know. Look, we've known each other for years, and even though I've never thought of you as a friend, I'd like you to have the ring. It's obvious that you're desperate, although I can't understand why.
I really don't understand why I'm doing all this either. It's a dirty job, but someone's got to do it.
Here's what we'll do. You go get more money, and the ring is yours. I promise I won't sell it until you come back with way more cash. If you're not here before dusk, and I get a good offer, I'll have to sell it. Deal?
Deal. You just wait here. I'll get more money, even if I have to steal it from nuns.
Okay, so at the primary moment, we have to get more money in order to obtain plot device A. So now I should explain the plot a little bit. Randal here is a bit of a kleptomaniac and not a very good friend. The beginning of the game is he and his friend are drinking at a bar, and his friend tells him in confidence that he's going to propose to his longtime girlfriend with a ring. He goes off to puke because he drank too much, and Randal steals his ring and his wallet, sells the ring, and obtains a bunch of money. And in the process of doing so, he also gets fired from his job. He gets in trouble with his landlord, various things. And then he wakes up the following day, and it is still Monday. So it's a very Groundhog Day sort of premise, and it goes on pretty much that same way with an interesting idea behind it that anything you directly interact with will stay consistent, but with almost everything else actually changing. Like, for example, your landlord himself will all of a sudden have a different accent, or as of the third Monday I've gone through now, he was wearing a kilt. So I thought that was kind of goofy, actually. But ladder that I broke in the first day was still broken, and your inventory stays the same way, outside of specific things that you actually put in specific places that, as far as I've seen, I believe stay in pretty much the same places. But a lot of this is leading you to believe that you need to reobtain that ring to give it back to your best friend, because his best friend keeps should I actually? Nah, I don't think I'll actually explain what's going on with his friend Matt. So yeah, going a bit more into the let's get out of this dialogue first.
Well, not that many sales, but the atmosphere is good. Yeah, I know. But
Yeah, well, you can click through the
Son of a... My goodness.
you can click through the dialogue
Yeah,
a little
well,
bit, which is helpful if you want to exhaust these dialogue trains, and you know, they're kind of long, so being able to go through a bit more of them is helpful. So let's talk to this guy for a quick second.
I will never talk to those people unless it's absolutely necessary, and I don't see that happening.
So, going a bit more into the game itself, it's...
T-shirts. They say I was at Sci-Fi Con and I'm not a virgin. And what am I supposed to do with these? I guess I should deliver them, but is that my job? Delivering fucking T-shirts? How did it come to this?
Essentially... okay, so if you're interested in really knowing how exactly to make any progress in this game, and you don't even have the first clue on what to do, they have this hint system that basically it tells you specifically what your goal is, and then gives you a short synopsis and maybe the slightest bit of a clue of what to do. In some cases, though, if you're just super unclear on what is going on exactly, you can actually do this thing to reveal more steps of what's going on. An option that's specifically kill Kitty. Yeah, so... yeah, I don't entirely know what's going on with that. I'm sort of curious to see if maybe I will admit that will be a lot funnier if there's a sort of like Metal Gear Solid 3 style scene where like all the ghosts of the kitties you've killed are there or something. I think that would be pretty funny, but so let's see. If you talk to Mel, you'll find that he's still interested in buying some nice items, but he's just in unique stuff. If Mortimer's here, then not locked up in his room, so a great chance to sneak in, get some you can borrow. Okay. So I suppose we also need to speak to Mel. That's the other thing is, so basically make sure you find every item, and you also need to make sure that you obtain exhaust any lines of dialogue that may or may not actually be there.
And stop wasting.
So yeah, let's we'll skip through a little bit of that and just sort of I guess, so the main way I would dissect this is this game feels quite a bit more like King's Quest V than King's Quest VI. And, the main thing I would say is, so if you're not really aware of either of those games, King's Quest V is openly known for being a particularly, I need to go back to my apartment, because the guy in the Wookiee costume is actually my my roommate, and I need to obtain some stuff from his room, so we'll just head over that way. See, that walk cycle looks really good. But King's Quest V is openly kind of considered a game that's... So, there were two lines of design philosophy when it came to point-and-click adventure games, where one was the value comes from this incredibly difficult and not particularly open experience because it opens up the chance for more just bashing your head against this thing in the hopes of possibly figuring out the solution. And these games were king in the time where strategy guides didn't exist, and it was there are people that I know that very much considered it a very...
Mortimer took the doorknob. I can't open it like that.
Considered a very helpful thing to...
I don't need to fork that.
Okay. It was considered a very helpful thing to sort of make games worth the money, you know, because, like, games are expensive, and some of the idea was, you know...
the door doesn't have a lock. I guess I'll have to find another way.
Interesting. I don't quite know. I don't know.
I can't just break Mortimer's door down. Let's find a more simple solution.
Okay. Maybe there's something in here. Alright. And from there, so basically, there are some things in here that I think are very much can be acquainted with the Yeti pie from King's Quest V. And if you don't know what I mean when I say Yeti pie, what I would suggest doing is going to Google and Googling King's Quest V Yeti pie. And I think you'll... If you can find a YouTube, you'll easily find a YouTube video or a GIF or something. And...
I don't like bothering people. Okay, I do, but I just don't feel up to it right now.
It's... I don't know. It in a lot of ways I think can be reasoned that it's not a very logical conclusion to how to solve a puzzle. And yeah, I feel these pigeons are dead because I murdered them, by the way. The game had a surprisingly interesting and stern position on that being funny, but it feels the slightest bit not nuanced like I would prefer it to be.
No can do, amigo. There's some kind of crust around the door that makes it impossible to open.
Ultimately, it makes me feel frustrated because I all of a sudden look at a thing that feels pretty simple. Like there's no doorknob there, and I feel like I've handed at least a handful of things that I should be able to use in order to open it, and it would just rather not.
No.
I don't know. It looked vaguely door handle-esque. I don't know. I don't know. It just. I appreciate that they took the time to put this in here because it makes it burglar. Oh, okay. So this is actually. Once you're back at Randal's, you'll see that my door is closed. You have to open the door. Go to Charlie Street and not open it. Okay, so you kind of see what I mean. Like, so the solution to me not being able to open the door is that I have to go to the psychiatrist's office, who I have yet to actually step in the office of. I don't know. There's just something about that doesn't feel necessarily logical in any way that feels satisfying to me personally. It just sort of feels like, you know, like, the only other way you would have been able to figure that out is by exhausting every other screen and just going place to place until something continues you forward. And that doesn't feel fun to me. That feels frustrating to me, and that feels not very fun. And I don't want to... Again, I'm not trying to bash their work or anything. It just...
Alright, so I better take Charlie's advice. I think I need the opinion of a shrink. Maybe he can help me look at the situation from a different perspective, or maybe he can prove to me that none of this is actually happening and it's all in my head.
See, like, there's not any scenario in which I feel like this would have ever actually occurred.
I'd like to see the psychiatrist.
Oh, there's a map of super ghouls and ghosts on that back wall there to the right, behind the secretary or whatever.
I'm an old college buddy of his.
You're a doctor.
Isn't it obvious?
And you went to college together.
I don't know. So from there, I feel like a fair amount of this could have been a bit more adapted from King's Quest VI instead. And there's a reason why King's Quest VI is actually considered to be one of the best point-and-click adventure games ever, is because a lot of it is very intuitive, and there's only so many things that you really need, and they're fairly close in proximity to the puzzle, and things to pick up or actually make sense, or things that you would actually in fact need in some way. And this game openly thinks it's very funny to have things that you wouldn't normally necessarily carry, which is fine, but like from a lot of like point-and-click adventure games rely on the ability to logically deduce what you need and what you don't need. And I can't really do that with a retractable duck hanger. And yes, I said that correct. An extendable duck hanger. It doesn't flow in my brain correctly, and again, I'm clarifying that to me it just doesn't feel like a satisfactory experience. But again, there are people that like King's Quest V. There are people that like some of these old school point-and-click adventures that have no interest in hand-holding you and just want you to just like bash your head against everything until you can figure it out. And they even go the extra mile in that case of giving you that hint system, which they certainly didn't have to do. And I appreciate that. It just, speaking from my own biases and my own perspective, it just feels not quite my thing.
What? Haven't you ever seen Doogie Howser, MD?
And your name is?
Hauser. Dr. Doogie Howser.
I am sorry, Dr. Hauser. Your name is not on Dr. Johnson's unexpected visits list, so there is nothing I can do. But you can make an appointment for tomorrow morning if you wish.
You know, I'm afraid tomorrow's not good for me.
What about Wednesday, then?
That's even worse. Couldn't you just squeeze me in today, please?
I am sorry, sir, but that would be impossible.
So let's exhaust all these
If that would give...
dialogue chains here. So yeah, currently this game is on sale on GOG and Steam. Believe $25 or like $24.99 respectively as of its release price. You know, again, I'm trying to stress that I don't think this is a bad game. I think it's just a whole lot of philosophies and choices that I personally don't find appealing, or I don't find very enthralling myself. I'm sure there's at least some amount of things that I have said that have sold at least a couple of people on this game. Some people really, really love referential humor. Some people really, really love just those really old school point-and-click adventure games. The Telltale games aren't really scratching at all, because those games on one hand are very interested in not being complicated whatsoever. They are very interested in just sort of being narrative experiences with very little gameplay, even less than point-and-click adventures in general. And yeah, like, hopefully they figure out the volume sliders and everything. Who knows? You know, if I would certainly say if this seems like even the remotest bit interesting to you, it really might be worth a shot, because I think there are people that could find some genuine interest in this. Which is why I went out of my way to sort of give it a bit more of a fair shot than I maybe would have otherwise, which I feel bad about, but it's my own bias. So, this has been 30 minutes of Randall's Monday, and I'll see y'all next time.